Thank you very much for listening to this week's talk on the Sedras of Nitzavim and Vayelech, the eighth and ninth Sedras respectively in the book of Devarim. And we are reading these Sedras the Shabbos before Rosh Hashanah. We always read the Sedra of Nitzavim immediately before, just the week of Rosh Hashanah. This year it's going to be a whole week later with the first day of Rosh Hashanah the following Shabbos. Very often the Sedras of Nitzavim and Vayelech are joined together. And again, just reflect on how that is no mean feat that we always read the Sedras in this proximity to Rosh Hashanah, considering that we can have a 4-week discrepancy in the number. When we have a leap year, we have 4 extra weeks, and yet still the Sedras that we read are always going to work out just before Rosh Hashanah. And so the particular appropriateness of the words that we are reading as we are in the month of Elul, now in the 3rd week of the month of Elul, this wonderful month of preparation for the festival of Rosh Hashanah, which is the opportunity, the gift to us to look back, be rooted in the present, and look forward to the coming year as we approach the head of the year. And if we look at the Sedras of Nitzavim and Vayelech, and the years that we read them together are an opportunity to take a panoramic view of the messages in these Sedras, and the focus words that can really help us get the messages and combine the messages, I think, are the word of kulchem. This is how we're going to open the Sedra of Nitzavim. We'll see how this features in the first pasuk. The concept of Teshuvah. And although Rosh Hashanah is really the day that we celebrate the anniversary of the creation of Adam Harishon, of the first human being, and we are actually crowning Hashem King every year on this anniversary, that is Rosh Hashanah. But we also have the idea of Teshuvah, and I think that we need to understand Teshuvah as coming home, and that's why I feel that the title for the talk is that it's a close journey, a close distance to come home. It is not something that is far away. We have the eternal questions: Are we there yet? Are we there yet? When we read the words of this week's Sedra, we can understand that coming home when we are with Hashem is not something that we need to go up to the heavens or cross the sea. It's something that is so very close to us as to be inside each and every one of us. So just starting with this idea of kulchem, of all of you. The Sedra of Nitzavim begins, chapter 29, verse 9. Atem Nitzavim hayom kulchem lifnei Hashem Elokechem. You are standing today, it is speaking to us today, all of you, lifnei Hashem Elokechem, before Hashem your God, roshechem, your heads, shivtechem, your tribes, your ziknechem, your elders, v'shotrechem, your officers, kol ish Yisrael, every person, literally every man in Israel. Tapchem, your young ones, neshechem, your wives, v'gercha asher b'kerev b'chanecha, and the convert who is in the middle of your camp. Mechotev etzecha, from the hewer of your wood, ad shoev meimecha, until the draw of your water. And it's very interesting the way this word, all of you, which seems to insinuate there is a group, a gathering of people, and that suggests a certain unity, you plural. Yet we then have immediately afterwards the hierarchy, the position, starting with the people who seem to be the VIPs, the leaders, the officers, the tribal heads, And then Ish, with Kol Ish Yisrael, the word Ish is often used to denote a person of high standing. And then we broaden out to families, to the family unit, to the children, to wives, to the convert, etc., down to the people who perhaps have more menial jobs, to the hewer of wood and the drawer of water. So after this initial unity, there seems to be some kind of reference to hierarchy. And I think that when we are contemplating the messages of Rosh Hashanah and we are understanding that although there is a reality and there is a hierarchy in society, and we can see in certain cultures that there will be a caste system, there will be a very rigid and enforced way of keeping various sections of society in their separate boxes. And we're not denying that reality, but we have to learn as part of our success as individuals and as a nation, part of our mission to bring Hashem's word into this world, that we need to see ourselves as part of a composite whole. Wherever we are in the pecking order, we have to be aware of those above us and respectful to those who seem to be on the lower rungs. And this is the inclusion. There is this inclusiveness that everybody who is present is part of the unit of the nation that is accepting this covenant, that is going to be part of the promised people as they go towards the promised land. And this is something that we'll come to at the end of Vayelech. We'll see a certain full circle concept. But I think it's important to internalize this idea as we read these Sedras of Nitzavim and Vayelech, that we are coming together on this awesome festival of Rosh Hashanah. We are coming together as an entire nation comprised of our different fragments of the mosaic, but we are still this whole picture. And then as we want to prepare, get into the right mindset for Rosh Hashanah, the words that we are reading that describe the concept of teshuvah, and these words can be found in chapter 30, verses 1 to 6, and they are such uplifting, beautiful words. I'll start here. V'haya ki yovo alecha kol hadvarim ha'eleh, and it will be when all of these things come upon you. Habracha, the blessing, v'haklala, and the curse. Asher nosati lefanecha, that I have put before you. V'hashevosa el levavecha, and you will return to your heart. B'chol hagoyim asher hidichacha Hashem Elohecha shama, among all the nations that Hashem has dispersed you there. V'shavta, and you will return ad Hashem Elokecha, until Hashem your God. V'shamata b'kolo, and you will listen to his voice. K'chol asher anochi mitzavcha hayom, like everything that I am commanding you today. Ata, you, uvanecha, and your children, v'chol levavecha uv'chol nafshecha, with all your heart and with all your soul. V'shav Hashem Elokecha es shavuscha, and Hashem your God will return your captivity, v'richamecha, and have mercy upon you. V'shav v'kibetzcha, and he will return and gather you, mikol ha'amim asher hefitzicha Hashem Elokecha shama, from all the peoples where Hashem your God has scattered you. And if we do a quick count of the amount of times that the word with the root shin vav ves appears, lashuv, to return, I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have, in the space of 4 verses, this root appearing 5 times. And we need to understand that this is not a long journey for us to undertake, because although we may look back over the previous year and feel that we've fallen far short of the goals and targets that perhaps we set ourselves at the beginning of this year that is now coming to its conclusion, or we may feel inadequate without our resolutions to be accountable, but we need to give ourselves that confidence to know that Hashem, that this journey back to ourselves, which is really inside to our essence, to our heart, and the description of this concept of teshuvah at this point in the words that we are reading before Rosh Hashanah is this sense of coming home. And it is this sense that every person, every Jewish person who is reading these words in the Torah needs to get that special close connection that is an intrinsic part of our being. Every single human being, and Rosh Hashanah is the anniversary of creation of all of humanity, every single human being has a spark of Hashem inside them. Whether they nurture that spark or whether they distance themselves from that spark, that is perhaps an area of choice that is going to be unique to each individual. But this concept of being close to the answer, of coming back to our source, is something that is so beautifully expressed in these words. And Rashi has the most beautiful interpretation of one of these words using the root shin vav ves, and that we see in chapter 30, verse 3. And that is, V'shov Hashem Elohecha es shavuscha. And Hashem, your God, will return your captivity. And on these words, on this posuk, Rashi says the following. Haya lo lichtov v'heshiv es shavuscha. It should have written, Hashem, your God, will cause you to return. The tense of the verb should have been the hifil, the causative sense, that Hashem will cause us to return. But it is rather the kal. There's the simple sense of the verb that Hashem will return. So how does Rashi explain that? Rabbeinu lomdu mikan, our rabbis learn from here, kivyachol, as if it were, shehashchina shruya im Yisrael, that the shechina, that part, that imminent presence of Hashem, rests with Israel, but soros golusam, in the hardship of their exile. Ukushenig olin, and when Israel are redeemed, hirsiv geula la'atzmo. God, it is as if Hashem himself is being redeemed. Shehu yoshuv imohem, and he will return with them. V'yesh od lomar, and furthermore it can be said, Shegodol Yom Kibbutz Galoyos, that so great is the day of the ingathering of the exiles, Uvakoshi, and it will become about with so much difficulty, Ki'ilu hu atzmo tzorich lios oches biyodov mamosh ish mimkomo. He must actually hold each and every person with his hands and take him from his place in the exile. And I think that in this explanation of Rashi, in this intimate description of Hashem being with us through the travails of Golus, through the harsh klolos that we read about, the curses that we read about, and we read the history books and we can see accurate descriptions of what has happened that were recorded in the Torah as the prophecies of what will happen to us in exile. And we, in these words in the Torah, can feel that intimate connection that Hashem has with us, that he is coming back with us as we have this kibbutz galoyas, this ingathering of the exiles. And it's something that we've had the miraculous, breathtaking privilege to witness aspects of in our lifetime, in our recent history, that we see the return of Yisrael to Eretz Yisrael in ways that can only be understood as miracles, as the hand of Hashem. And it doesn't matter how clever the strategies were and how the weapons were precise, and even at the time when there were no weapons, when if we look back to the history pre-1948, there was no equipped army to fend off the surrounding Arab enemies. This is really, in our recent past, in our present, our existence in the land of Israel is a miracle, and it is something that we read the words of Rashi and we can feel that immediacy, that presence of Hashem with us, and we can feel that if we visualize that each and every one of us is almost getting a personal invitation. Hashem is taking us with his hands and bringing us from Golus to Geula in these words that we are reading. And if we think that this is a very long and difficult journey, the words come shortly after in verse 11. Ki ha-mitzvah hazos asher anochi mitzavcha hayom, because this commandment that I command you today, lo niflesi mimcha, it is not hidden, it is not so wondrous that you can't grasp it from you. V'lo rechokahi, and it's not distant. Lo b'shamayim hi, it's not in the heavens. Le'mo mi ya'aleh lonu hashamayim v'yikochehu. That you'd say, who's going to go up to the heavens like Moshe Rabbeinu did when he went 3 lots of 40 days and 40 nights? Who else is going to go up to the heavens to bring it down to us? And bring and take it for us. And let us hear it so that we can perform it. And it's not across the sea. Lema saying, Mi ya'avar lonu es ever hayam. Who can cross to the other side of the sea? And take it for us. And let us hear it. So that we can perform it. Ki korov elecha hadava ma'od. Rather, the matter is very near to you. Beficha, in your mouth, or bilavavcha, and in your heart, la'asoso, to perform it. And I think the simple words of the Torah, simple and easy, always being two very different concepts, are telling us that it is really up to us, with our mouths, with what comes into our mouth, what goes out of our mouth, and in our hearts, how that affects what we are thinking in our deepest essence, that this is something that we can work on, we can internalize, we can experience that closeness, and we can, as a result, get the confidence that we need to really build a strategy, a plan for our Rosh Hashanah, for our headquarters of the year, and go forward. And we can see these themes that are echoed in the Sedra of Vayelech that we read after Nitzavim on this coming Shabbos. And the 2 last mitzvahs of the 613 that are in the Torah are written in the Sedra of Vayelech. And these are the mitzvahs of Hakel, which is the mitzvah to gather everybody together. And this is the mitzvah that is performed on the Sukkos after the Shemitah year, and the entire nation. And we have echoes of what we read at the beginning of Nitzavim, all the different ages and stages of life in the nation are part of this Hakel mitzvah. And this concept of unity is such an important part of our year plan, to find that common ground between us. Yes, there are differences of opinion, there are differences of job description, but we have to see and experience the common denominator that binds us all. And this, how can we possibly do that? And again, it's this mitzvah, kisvu, that we need to write the Sefer Torah. By writing the Sefer Torah, internalizing all of the concepts of the Sefer Torah, we are able to achieve this unity that seems so elusive, that has always been a challenge throughout the generations. But we have the means, we have the method to achieve it, and it is all contained within the words of the Sefer Torah. And the concluding verse of the Sedra of Nitzavim, I believe, gives us this this wonderful vision. And the pasuk reads as follows. It's chapter 31, verse 30. Vayadaber Moshe ba'oznei kol kahal Yisrael es divrei hashira hazos ad tumon. And Moshe spoke into the ears of the entire congregation of Israel the words of this song until their conclusion. And we have the people here referred to as a kahal. We look at the beginning of Nitzavim, we have all the different categories of people, the different social levels of the nation. But at the end of the Sedra of Vayelech, we have a kahal, we have a congregation. We have a congregation that comprises everybody, but it is one unit coming together for a common purpose of keeping the words of the Torah, of honoring the words of Hashem, of having that unity that we are capable of as a nation, and in so doing, please God, ensuring that we are all inscribed for a healthy and successful and blessed coming year. And this is really the message that we are so relevant, that it is given to us, delivered to us in such a relevant way, in such a pertinent way, in the words of the Sedras that we read this year of Nitzavim and Vayelech. Thank you very much for listening, and